What's up, guys? Welcome back to Michigan Muckraker. My name's Michelle, and today is June 19th of 2023. And in this video, I have a lot to share with you on Gotion, Genesee, and Marshall megasites. I'm going to start out with all the important meetings that are going on this week and this month, and then I'm going to get into an article out of Fox News that really damaged the Gotion movement, unfortunately. I'm going to get into why they would do something like that, and the EDRA site, which is the Economic Development Responsibility Alliance, has an article that's really good and explains actually what's going on with that CIFUS review. And then I'm going to jump into in the Michigan Economic Development Corporation's summary of all of the upcoming projects in the auto industry, which is all electric vehicles, since that's what they're pushing. So we're going to go over that and get an outline of what's going on here in Michigan. And then I'm going to share with you some really concerning stuff at the end of the video on Consumers Energy and DTE in particular. So we're going to jump in. The playback isn't working, but hopefully you guys can see me all right and hear me all right. So the first thing I want to start with is, if you're still a soldier in the red versus blue, they've got you right where they want you. So I'm saying this because I will be talking about Fox News. I am going to share something about CNN as well, because I want to be fair and balanced. But Fox News and CNN and MSNBC, they're all what I term legacy media. And there's a reason why they had such a damaging Gotion article that came out. You know, they're for big government, and really they're on the same side. So I don't want a red versus blue fight. As this says over here, we are a non-partisan movement. Corporate welfare is government corruption. And that's where I stand. I'm for a teeny tiny government, and both sides use fear in order to blow up government, make it bigger. So that's not what I'm for, and I want to point it out on either side when something's going wrong. So first meeting I want to point out is tonight, June 19th at 5:30, the Muskegon River Watershed Alliance monthly board meeting. And it's going to be at the Stream, which is right there in downtown Newaygo by the light. This meeting will not address Gotion as far as I know, but I still think it's important that we go and hold them accountable. There's been some muck, let's just say, around this nonprofit organization, and I will be doing a separate video on the Muskegon River Watershed Alliance, because it's really important to understand what's going on there, some shady stuff. But tonight we're going to be cordial. We're going to go see what they say, and if we can get a large group there, that'd be awesome. Again, I don't know if they'll be talking about Gotion. I've never been to one of these meetings, so I will be there tonight. Check it out, and I will have a video for you later on that alliance. This week, Flint Township Board of Trustees, Monday, today. This is the address, 1490 South Dye Road in Flint, Michigan. 6 p.m. is the meeting. So if you can make that, that'd be good. By the way, this is for the Mundy Township Megasite, which is the Genesee Megasite. EV battery or semiconductor plant is supposed to go there. So if you are in Flint Township, please go and show your strength, you know, in numbers, and hit that meeting up. So Schwartz Creek, the zoning board meeting, is Wednesday, June 21st at 6 p.m. and that's at 8083 Civic Drive, Schwartz Creek, Michigan. And Monday's resident meeting is Thursday, June 22nd at 6:30 p.m. Elms Road Park, Schwartz Creek. So if you're down there in Mundy Township, those are the meetings that you need to go to voice your opposition, or if you're for it, you know. But there's a lot of people that are noticing shady things for this megasite as well. The economic development corporations are involved, so we should not be surprised. The Ford Marshall Megasite. Oh, real quick, please, I will have the link in the description for all of these different Facebook groups. Join them so that you can keep up with what's going on, because every day there's something new, some new information being posted. So check that one out. This is the Stop the CCP Ford Marshall Megasite, which is reminding people that Bob Ling, Marshall Township trustee, has a recall petition that kicks off today. Marshall Library, 5:30. Everyone welcome. So go there, sign the petition if you're in that township and want to recall that individual for his lack of listening, probably, is what's happening in all these townships. This reminds me of good news we have for Gotion, really quick. Green Charter Township recall organizers have enough signatures as they fight CCP Gotion plan. You know, the Midwesterner putting the CCP in there, obviously they're more right wing. I'm just throwing it out there so that you know. I mean, to me, focusing on the CCP part in every title is telling. Okay, it's not just, that's only 1/3 of the story. Citizens of Green Charter Township are fighting back against their elected leaders who are continuing to push forward on a plan to bring a Chinese Communist Party connected battery plant to the community. See, right there in the intro, they're bringing up the CCP. Environment is another huge, obviously, another huge thing that they're not talking about, variable. Residents have launched 2 efforts, including a referendum on the small township's plan to create its own planning commission to more easily convert agricultural farmland for industrial use. They also plan to recall the entire township board over what they say is a lack of communication and transparency. According to organizers, 133 signatures are required from the township of about 2,000 people. They submitted 399, which essentially freezes the township's action and forces a township-wide vote later this year on whether to proceed. They are required to file 417 signatures to recall the board, including clerk Janet Clark and treasurer Denise McFarland, as well as trustees James Peak, Gary Todd, Dale Jernstadt, and Roger Carroll. Organizers tell the Midwesterner they have collected the minimum amount but are planning to file over 600 within the next month. Supervisor James Chapman filed an appeal to the approval of the petition language. Of course he did, delaying that collection campaign by a couple of weeks. I knew something like that would happen. But residents are salivating, waiting to sign. An organizer told the Midwesterner, "We are geeked. We are just nobodies all thrown together, found a common cause, and the teams have just really taken this and run with it." Mary Inglesman, one of the Mecosta County residents working on the recall effort, said, adding, "It is a David and Goliath kind of thing." Absolutely. Thank you for joining me, guys. If you like this kind of content, please smash the like and subscribe. And thank you for being here, the Michigander. I appreciate it. But yes, it is awesome that we got the recalls going, and that needs to continue. Anybody that is working for the people and are not listening to the people, they need to be recalled. She said the 399 referendum signatures were collected in just 5 days, demonstrating the energy residents have for opposing the board's efforts to bring the company into the community. People are just coming out of the woodwork to come out and sign, Engelman's told the Midwesterner. It's really very exciting. We're finding there are tons of people supporting this. She said there are 14 3-member teams gathering signatures to force a vote, and 2/3 are Green Charter Township residents. "We're just going to keep going," she said on their efforts. "We're not going to just turn over and play dead. This is very important. We've not had a say in this Gotion thing. This has been shoved down our throats from Governor Gretchen Whitmer on down, so it's important for people to be able to vote and have a say," she added. Which I know that Marshall is actually, they're calling for a vote, which we have been calling for a vote as well. Why, with these regional changes, can we not vote on such a big project? Why? If organizers collect a sufficient number of valid signatures, a recall vote would likely be held in November. The incumbents would square off against challengers in a special election. Residents have objected to the proposed Gotion battery plant over environmental concerns and the company's documented links to the CCP. Now that's over at the Midwesterner. Thank you for that. Stop the Marshall Megasite is another Facebook page that you should follow, check out, and keep updated on. We need to help each other out. We are all fighting the same Hydra. We're fighting the same thing, so we need to work together. Real quick, my friend here, Travel Around Susie, was talking to me, and she commented that the board doesn't pay attention. When she watches the live streams, they don't give a crap, right? They're not listening to us, so she feels like it's pointless to show up. And to her, I say, and to anybody else that might feel that way, please show up if you can to any of these, wherever is closest to you, even if it's not your township or your county. If you are against corporate welfare, if you're against your tax dollars going for these projects, show up, because they're not listening to 100 people. They may not listen to 1,000 people. But if we had 10,000 people there, they wouldn't have to listen. The world would listen. And so we're doing this for each other, to show our strength in numbers, to show the media when they do show up and they do actually report the truth. But that's the thing. There are citizen journalists and people that are popping up that will report the truth. So if we had 10,000 people show up to one of these meetings, people would know about it. The world would know about it. So that is why we need to continue to show up to these meetings and keep trying to grow our numbers and support each other. I know it's difficult because it's a big state and there's a lot going on. Some of these things are a couple hours away from each other, but we need to, like I said, support each other. So getting into this release, this press release from Marjorie Steele over at EDRA, this is going to come right before the Fox News story that was so damaging to Gotion. Big Rapids residents and allies reject Gotion's assertion that the U.S. Department of Treasury's declining to conduct a CIFUS review of the $2.5 billion Chinese battery plant due to lack of jurisdiction is a green light. Continue to demand proper security and environmental due diligence be performed. This is really important because some of my neighbors actually said to me, oh, I heard that Gotion thing it's a done deal. Biden gave it a go-ahead. And that is real misinformation. That is from Fox News. Real quick, I'm just going to read the headline. Biden admin green lights Chinese EV battery factory in Michigan despite local opposition. That is a terrible headline. It's disingenuous, and this article is going to go over what's really going on. And then I'm going to explain to you why Fox News would be so disingenuous and damage the cause. June 15, 2023, Big Rapids, Michigan. The U.S. Department of Treasury's response to Gotion's voluntarily submitted CIFUS review was far from a green light to the $2.5 billion Chinese-owned Megasite, say residents and legislators. The Treasury Department concluded that it doesn't have the proper jurisdiction to conduct a review, which is a far cry from a completed investigation. CIFUS, or the Committee on Foreign Investments in the United States, is an interagency committee that reviews transactions involving foreign investment in the United States, to include real estate purchases, to determine the effect of such transactions on the national security of the United States. Comprised of cabinet-level officials from 9 different U.S. federal agencies, according to the Office of the Industrial Base Policy Assistant Secretary of Defense. It's unbelievable how many committees and boards there is in this country, in this state, in each county. It's ridiculous. Gotion's voluntary review submitted to the Treasury required far less information than the compulsory reviews which have been requested by local leaders and state legislators. The documents entailed in the review remain cloaked in secrecy. Without the public knowing what was submitted to CIFUS by Gotion and its attorneys and what was sent back, we are reserving judgment on the apparent response from the Department of Treasury, said Ambassadors Joseph Sella and Pete Hoekstra in a joint statement yesterday. Today's announcement from Gotion is not an approval from CIFUS, but another example of the broken CIFUS process where the government claims deals are outside its jurisdiction, Michigan Congressman John Moolenaar said in a statement. Veteran economist Former hospital administrator and local resident Kimberly Herring observes how senseless the process of submitting CIFUS reviews to the Treasury Department is in the first place. Let me put this in context, Herring says. If I were a healthcare executive, as I have been, and wanted to build a for-profit hospital and get paid federal money for treating Medicare patients, I would go to the Department of Health and Human Services. I would not go to the Department of Education because they would tell me that it didn't fall under their jurisdiction. That's essentially what's happened here. They made an irrelevant and disingenuous gesture by going to the wrong damn department. They did this for the sole purpose of developing a narrative that would deceive the public. That's exactly what happened. And my neighbors, they're good people. They mean well, but they probably just read the headline. Maybe they read the whole thing, but they really thought that Biden did a CIFUS review and gave it an all clear. And that, again, thanks to Fox News. Gotion has yet to provide the public environmental impact studies. Gotion VP Chuck Thellen's recent comments to local media that what you do is an impact study for each piece of the environment. All of those things go to the Permit Commission for the state and the EPA indicate that Mr. Thelen and the company he represents fail to understand the distinction between environmental impact studies and the permitting process. Given the magnitude of the proposed 500 plus acres, 5.5 million square foot plant, this ignorance of the most basic of development due diligence is deeply concerning. Ignorance or malevolence, either he doesn't know or he's a liar. So, getting into this, Chinese bet company Gotion says it's been transparent and accountable with federal government. There's Marjorie Steele. She had an interview maybe a month back with them. Not very long, not long enough to actually say what needs to be said, because that's how Fox News and CNN and all that other legacy media works. You don't get near enough time with any guest. The Biden administration is allowing Chinese electric vehicle battery company Gotion to move forward with construction of a facility in Michigan after a months-long national security review. First paragraph, one that most people read. The Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, CIFUS, an interagency task force seen by the Department of Treasury and tasked with reviewing certain foreign investments that may pose a national security threat, determined Tuesday that Gotion's proposed facility was not a covered real estate transaction or purchase under the Defense Production Act. We voluntarily submitted all the needed documents to the U.S. Department of Treasury Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States to be transparent and accountable, and received the response that it was not a covered transaction, Chuck Thelen, Gotion's Vice President of Operations, North American Operations, said in a statement. Gotion, whose parent company is Gotion High Tech, is based in Hefei City, China, said following the results of the CIFUS review that it would continue to move forward with due diligence on its billion-dollar project in Megasite County, Michigan. Lawmakers, local residents, and national security experts have months raised concerns about the ownership. While it's welcome that Gotion recently requested a federal review on its own, the subsidiary of a parent company that pledges allegiance to CCP should not pass a CIFUS review to build a facility in Michigan, said Molinar. Or Molinar, I don't know how to say it, I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong, who represents the district where the plant would be constructed. In October, Democrat Michigan Governor Whitmer announced that Gotion would invest $2.4 billion in construction to construct 550,000 square foot production plants, along with other supporting facilities spanning 260 acres in northern Michigan. 260, it was 500 and just under 550, now it's 260. She applauded the proposal, saying it would shore up Michigan's status as the global hub of mobility and electrification, which, again, October was when most people found out about it because of her press release. But it wasn't public until the Renaissance Zone, September 26th, I think. So we've only been aware of what's going on for like 7 months, and we're doing pretty good recalling that board. The last couple paragraphs, I'm angry. I'm angry that this vote was slipped into the agenda today with as little information as possible so that people like me wouldn't know what was happening, Marjorie Steele, a local resident, said during the committee hearing. I'm angry that you, our elected officials, have ignored my community's pleas to table this vote until some small semblance of due diligence can be performed. I can promise you that we will not stop at the local level. She added, "We are tired of being abused, and we are not alone. This is not just a Mecosta County issue. Townships and counties across the state are uniting, sharing resources, manpower, grassroots activism. Your votes today, senators, are lines drawn in the sand." The Treasury Department didn't immediately respond to requests for comment. So it does say, but it's so convoluted, and most people unfortunately read headlines, right? And this says, "Biden admin greenlights Chinese EV battery factory." That is not true. So why are they so disingenuous? You have to go where you have to follow the money, right? Follow the yellow brick road. Fox News. Largest shareholders include Vanguard Group, Dodge and Cox, BlackRock, yada yada. The big ones, Vanguard Group, BlackRock. They own everything. I'm going to tell you. Spoiler alert. So here's another CNN, Vanguard Group, BlackRock. Now you come over here. This is Warner Brothers Discovery Inc. Who owns CNN? Warner Brothers Discovery, CNN, Vanguard, BlackRock. And you can do this with all of them. 90% of the media in the United States is controlled by just 6 corporations. And these corporations, if you look at Vanguard and BlackRock's shareholder, the shares, AT&T's on there, Disney's on there, Vanguard and BlackRock. They own Fox News, they own CNN, MSNBC, they own them all. So why is it that they say different things, you might be asking? Well, they know their audience. They know that the people that watch Fox News think differently than the people that watch CNN, and therefore they have to be tricked with different propaganda. They're told only a third of the truth. There is some truth in both, honestly. And CNN, I think that the way my mind works, Fox News has more sophisticated propaganda, but obviously people that watch CNN would disagree with me. But CNN, I'm sure, has truths in there, but it's surrounded by so much propaganda and lies that you're not able to actually understand what the truth is. I say, know what the legacy media is saying, but don't believe a word of it. Do your own due diligence, because it doesn't matter if it's Fox or CNN. They're owned by Vanguard and BlackRock. And BlackRock is owned by Larry Fink. He is an American billionaire. He is the current CEO and chairman of BlackRock. He sits on the boards of the Council of Foreign Relations and the World Economic Forum. These people are buying everything up, and the media has been bought up quite some time ago. Vanguard joins Global Parity Alliance. World Economic Forum launches Global Parity Alliance to accelerate diversity, equity, and inclusion outcomes. This was the 30th of March 2022, and this was April 14th of 2022. I hope you can see what I'm trying to share here with you. This is all a big club, like George Carlin said, and we ain't in it. And so we need to be aware of what Fox News is saying. It's not over yet. So Gotion, we're still fighting. There's still a lot of avenues that we can approach this from. So please do not listen to Fox News and think that it's over. Okay, it's not over. Now, Capcom here actually did a better job at what the story really is. So U.S. Treasury Department passes on reviewing Gotion land deal. That's a much better title. And this is more of a libertarian, small government type of website, which I like. I like that better. Again, teeny tiny government, guys. Teeny tiny. It's way too much government power in our lives right now. The federal government won't review CCP-linked Gotion for national security concerns. That's a big difference than Biden gives it a go-ahead, is it not? A recent decision by the federal government means that Gotion has avoided an obstacle to its plans to build a manufacturing plant near Big Rapids. Gotion announced last week that it received a notice from the U.S. Treasury Department that an interagency committee it oversees lacks jurisdiction over the company's plans. According to a Detroit News account, the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States reviews certain purchases by foreign companies and investors looking for national security implications. The Michigander said, arrest them all. Yes, Anybody that's supposed to work for the people, lies to the people, it's time for people to be held accountable for their actions, because us normal people, us plebs, we're certainly held accountable for all our actions, are we not? Michigan Capital Confidential has not seen a copy of the notice, and attempts to get a comment from the department have been unsuccessful. Other parties that have tried to obtain a copy of the notice from the government, Gotion, or both, include Big Rapids Township, the Detroit News, and U.S. Rep. John Molinar of Caledonia. The department announced June 13th that the Gotion deal is not, in the words of the law, a covered transaction, and therefore subject to a federal national security review. Molinar criticized the process for reviewing transactions. Today's announcement from Gotion is not an approval from CIFUS, but another example of the broken CIFUS process where the government claims deals are outside its jurisdiction. Molinar said in a statement, Gotion has not disclosed the materials it submitted to CIFUS and has not released the NDAs it forced Michigan officials to sign, Molinar continued. While it insists on secrecy, one document everyone has seen is Gotion High-Tech's Articles of Association, where it pledges allegiance to the CCP and says it will carry out party activities. Yes, I have a video on that. It is there. Big Rapids Township trustees expressed their concerns to a Gotion representative in a February email obtained by Michigan Capital Confidential. Gotion was originally seeking an expedited national security review of its proposed Mecosta County battery plant, a move that worried Carmen Bean, a trustee of Big Rapids Township. Gotion opted for the quicker review, which could be completed in 30 days. It did this by filing a document known as a voluntary declaration. The Big Rapids Charter Township Board emailed Michael H. Johnson, a lawyer representing Gotion, telling him the township was starting the more involved notice process with the Treasury Department over the company's plan to purchase and develop land in Mecosta County. The township asked Gotion to give it the information needed to complete its own notice, but it also gave the company other options. Officials said Gotion could file a notice with them or files its own notice and give copies to the township. A notice is a longer review, which can be completed in 45 days. Johnson said in an email that the company is filing a declaration rather than a notice. He cited the shorter assessment period for the declaration and the less burdensome nature compared to the notice. Oh, isn't that nice? According to the U.S. Treasury, there is no filing fee for most declarations. There is a filing fee for notices, amounting to 0.15% of the transaction's value. This could come to as much as $300,000. So they avoided paying the $300,000, even though we're giving them a bunch of taxpayer dollars in the millions, tax incentives in the billions, but nope, we can't afford $300,000. We're not going to do that. Johnson said that the company's plan is not a covered real transaction. So Gotion does not see the need for filing a notice. The federal government agreed, determining that the purchase and development is not a covered transaction. Bean and the township agree with Molinar that the real estate deal should be a covered transaction. The Foreign Investment Committee reviews purchases of real estate that is near a military installation or critical infrastructure if the buyer is a foreign entity. The proposed Big Rapids site purchase is within 100 miles of Camp Grayling, the largest National Guard training center in the country. The camp has hosted members of the Taiwanese military, according to Bean. He adds that the proposed battery plant site is within 12 miles of the largest underground storehouse of natural gas in the country. Natural resources, baby. Our government doesn't care, but Chinese government does. There are growing concerns China will invade Taiwan, which, according to The Economist, produces 90% of the world's advanced microchips. 6 of the world's 10 largest electric battery makers are located in China, according to Automotive News. The batteries require cobalt, and China owns almost half of the global supply because they're okay with slavery, and cobalt is mined using slavery. Johnson, the lawyer for Gotion, did not respond to an email seeking comment. So thank you to the individual, Jamie Hope, who wrote this article. That was much better than what Fox News did, but No surprise, Fox News is really for big government on the right side. This is to show the devastation that will happen if any of these megasites go through. This is Marshall Megasite. Is it not terribly sad? This is all this is all for green energy, guys. This is all to save the planet. We're gonna destroy the planet to save it. Because yep, Marshall Megasite. Go. I will leave the link for this video in the description. But yes, it's egregious, and the people didn't want it, and that is the main thing. If the people demand that you stop a project and you don't listen, well, what do we do then? How do we hold these people accountable when they won't listen? First, we need to get 10,000 people to go to a meeting. That's a goal to focus on. We need to show our strength in numbers, and if they still won't listen, if we have 10,000 people at a meeting, we still won't listen, we'll go from there. Electric cars, what will happen to all the dead batteries? I'm not going to go over this article today, but I want to show you what's happening with all of the blades. Look at this. That right there is a tractor, guys, burying the blades to the turbines. So batteries, lithium batteries, is this what they're going to do? They're just going to bury it? It's terrible. It is completely not for the planet. More pictures. This is from the Mundy Township. This Marshall site, my gut feeling is we're about 9 weeks behind them for Mundy Township. So that's from the admin over there that's compiling information for the Genesee Marshall, or the Megasite that's coming there. Something really quick from that same site that's kind of weird. I will quote from tonight's meeting from the board members. There is no application on the table. The picture on the left was the Eagle Megasite today at 5 o'clock. The picture on the right was Mundy Township Megasite about a month ago. Coincidence? I think not. If you were driving by the Old Morris Farm today at 5, you would have seen a fancy bus and guests the MEDC were showing around. Did anyone let the guests know the land use map hasn't been changed from agriculture preservation? It's been less than 2 weeks since the Clinton Township Board of Commissioners allowed the resolution. So yeah, the MEDC carts around. This is taxpayer dollars, baby. Putting a bunch of people together and looking at these megasites that the people that actually live there don't want. Now this is the MEDC, I'll go to page 1 really quick so you can see what it, there we go. Michigan Peer Opportunity, Michigan Economic Development Guide for 2023-2024. Page 70 is the automotive industry into the future. Travel Around Susie, thank you for joining me. I gave you a shout out. If you guys are into van life, please check her out. She's a fellow Michigander. Marshall's such a cute small town. Yes, I agree. I have not been there, but I've looked at pictures with my investigation, and it looks like kind of like Newaygo, a cute, quaint town. Leo, go lay down. I'm sorry if you hear my dog crying. He dropped his toy, and he's a big baby. So yes, I agree, Susie. It's a tragedy that's happening in Marshall. That huge, nasty megasite. We have to just keep fighting. We must. While we may not use the term firing on all cylinders literally when describing a future so focused on electric vehicles, it's still applicable to Michigan as the state continues to boldly drive the automotive and mobility industry forward. With a nod toward LIFT, the Advanced Manufacturing Institute, focused on mobility that is operated by American Lightweight Materials Manufacturing Innovation Institute, located in Detroit's historic Corktown neighborhood. Perhaps the new metaphor should be that the state continues to reach new heights. After all, as of March 2023, Michigan has welcomed more investment project dollars than any other state, with over $16.6 billion since 2015. Now, again, this is going to give an overview of all the projects MEDC has going on. Jessica Sharp says, "Hi, thank you for everything you do. 10,000 people or more is exactly what needs to happen." Thank you. Yep. I mean, I don't know if you've seen V for Vendetta, but I always think of that at the end there. Oh, I don't want to give spoilers, but the end of that is exactly what we need to do. We all need to stand together in solidarity. Michigan has a decided head start. Among the state's attributes, Michigan is #1 in the nation for mobility-related patents. And with 96 of the top 100 automotive suppliers to North America having a presence in Michigan, 60 of them are headquartered in the state. Will the restoration of workers' rights that was recently signed into law drive them away? Not likely. Where's the science there? Just, this is what they want you to believe. OEMs and suppliers based around the world have been working with the United Auto Workers and the AFL-CIO for generations. Within a few days of Governor Gretchen Whitmer signing the Restoration Workers' Rights package into action, more investments continue to arrive. Companies are attracted to Michigan due to all the money that MEDC is giving them, taxpayer dollars, because government doesn't make money, they steal it from the people. But what the MEDC is saying is companies are attracted to Michigan due to the opportunities, connectivity, and attention businesses receive. It's all that bribery. That's why. Drives me nuts. Michigan workers are the most talented and hardworking in the world and deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. Well, everybody deserves to be treated with dignity and respect, and I'm not saying Michigan aren't hard workers. They are. But that's not why they're coming here. These bills will protect health and safety, ensuring healthcare workers can put patient care ahead of profit. Construction workers can speak up when there's a safety issue, and employees can call attention to food safety threats and other problems. Let's continue delivering for working people and ensuring Michigan is open for business, said Governor Whitmer. After the Restoring Workers' Rights Bill was passed, semiconductor maker IDK made an investment of $12.5 million with plans to create 180 jobs in Auburn Hills. The company specializes in making edge sensors for advanced driver assistance systems and products for connected car, user experience, and electrification applications. When they say stuff like this, think of software-based economy over a product-based economy. So, yeah, products for a connected car. That means $10 to roll down your window, $18 to heat your seats. They can nickel and dime using microtransactions with a connected car. Through the Michigan Strategic Fund, the MEDC is supporting the project with a $10 million performance-based grant. There you go. They bribed them with $10 million bucks, at least. Again, taxpayer dollars. On the same day, Auburn Hills-based Borg Warner announced a $20.6 million 186 job expansion driven by the EV business with multiple investments, including $5 million in Auburn Hills, $5 million in subsidiary Rhombus Energy Solutions to make EV chargers in Dearborn, an EV pack production expansion in Hazel Park by subsidiary Ekazol, and a new 100,000 square foot EV battery module and pack service center. Jessica says, every country needs to do a poll on this, and it's affecting the whole state and country. Yes, again, every Michigander is affected because our government is using our money and picking and choosing winners and losers for business. The family of projects is backed by a $1.86 million performance-based grant through MEDC's Michigan Strategic Fund. Reports say Borg Warner expects its electrification business to generate $4 billion in revenue by 2025. Wow. So you give them a grant, and then they're going to make $4 billion. Why do they need any of our money if they're going to make so much? The forecast instead is growing brighter as connected, autonomous, shared, and electric mobility solutions morph into more avenues for innovation. What Mike Ramsey, vice president of Gartner, a technological research and consulting firm, nicknamed cause. Chips, online, software, expensive. This is all Industry 4.0, Fourth Industrial Revolution. They want us, I heard that there's some hydrogen innovations happening in the auto industry. I highly doubt that they're going to allow any kind of innovation in that space to happen, because you cannot remotely control a hydrogen vehicle, but you can an electric vehicle. The way he and the Gartner analysis machine see it, the profound and widespread chip shortage in recent years means we're only a few years from seeing half the top 10 OEMs make matters into their own hands and make semiconductors themselves, backing the proliferation of more than 700 million connected vehicles globally. Gartner is forecasting the value of semiconductor content in cars will nearly double over the next 8 years to over $120 billion, with the fastest growing electric vehicle components and safety and autonomy features, Ramsey shared in summer of 2022. Yes, these features are going to be surveillance features first and foremost, because data is more valuable than oil. With ample water and power assets and a talent concentration of mechanical and industrial engineers that is the highest in the nation at over 4 times the national average, it would appear the case for Michigan's future mobility solutions is rock solid. Sorry, give me 1 second. I can't keep listening to him whine. He might still whine. Such a baby. I did that to him. Be quiet, bub. Sorry. Real quick, another thing on hydrogen. There is an individual, once again, I'm doing a video, I just have so much going on, but he sent me a bunch of information that for like 22 years he's been trying to put a hydrogen train system, it's not a train, but in Detroit. And he's not able to do it because they don't like hydrogen. That's not a part of this narrative that they're going for, the vision of the anointed. It's unfortunate, because obviously it should be about helping the planet for real and creating the best products and services. But billions and billions. Global OEMs see how Michigan is moving the future of mobility forward, and they're setting the pace for widespread industry growth. In 2022, Michigan attracted more than $14 billion in EV and battery investments alone. They bribed people, those industries, to come. 2 of the state's key automakers, General Motors and Ford Motor Company, are at the helm of this wave of innovation and expansion. General Motors has already announced numerous plans, total $7.1 billion. There we go. Okay, look at this. One region together, 11 counties, 5.4 million people, 348 communities. Detroit Regional Partnership. There's those regions again. Strengthen Michigan's EV future. These projects include $4 billion investment at its Orion Township assembly plant, a $2.6 billion investment in an Ultium high-volume battery cell manufacturing facility in Lansing, in partnership with LG Energy Solutions. So here we go. There's another huge plant going on. $510 million investment in the Lansing Grand River plant. On top of that, the company continues to invest in internal combustion, too. In January, GM announced $579 million to prepare its Flint plant for a 6th-generation engine, and $216 million to upgrade its Bay City plant. Ford is also rapidly expanding and investing in the state, with more than $5.6 billion in investments. Wasn't it just a year ago that Ford laid off like 3,000 people, and most of them were Michiganders? Yeah, I don't trust any of these companies. I don't know about you. The first wave was announced in June 2022, when the company committed to invest $2 billion and create more jobs. Oh, sorry. More than 3,000 good paying UAW jobs. I like how they put in quotations right here, good paying, because yeah, if $50,000 a year is good paying, I think you're a liar. Across its Michigan plant portfolio in Dearborn, Wayne, and Flat Rock to boost both its EV and gas-powered vehicle operations, plus a new packaging operation in Monroe Charter Township. Today's generational investment by an iconic American company will uplift local families, small businesses, and the entire community, and help our state continue leading the future of mobility and electrification, said Governor Whitmer. Let's continue bringing the supply chain of electric vehicles, chips, and batteries home while creating thousands of good-paying jobs and revitalizing every region of our state. Yes, it's a boiling frog. They're just going to keep using region, and pretty soon state won't even be a thing. Since I took office, we've secured over 30,000 auto jobs and landed multiple electric vehicle and chip-making factories. We're on the move, so let's keep our foot on the accelerator. Shit, she's so Michigan cheese sometimes, and I say that in a bad way for her, but my husband is the one that coined the term for me, because I can be really cheesy. But yeah, so can Whitmer. The count keeps climbing. In February 2023, Ford pledged to invest and create jobs at its new Ford Blue Oval battery plant in Marshall, on one of a fleet of truly investment-ready sites that the MEDC has been building out in such areas as Lansing, Southeast Michigan, Ann Arbor, Flint, Shiawassee County, and Jackson. Blue Oval Battery Park, Michigan brings the total to more than 30,000 new automotive jobs since Governor Whitmer's inauguration in January 2019. The project will support Ford's goal of producing 2 million EVs annually by 2026. Since 2016, Ford has announced nearly $13.5 billion in investments in Michigan, largely around electric and autonomous vehicle manufacturing, supporting nearly 12,500 new and retained jobs. The plant will make lithium iron phosphate LFP batteries. Ford is the first automaker to commit to build both nickel, cobalt, manganese, NCM, and LFP batteries in the United States. Oh boy, that's a lot of chemicals coming to Michigan's waters. Ford's decision underscores the strength of our state's automotive sector and the bipartisan Team Michigan commitment to winning the future of mobility and manufacturing here in Michigan, said Quentin Messer, MEDC CEO and Michigan Strategic Fund President and Chair. Definitely an individual that went to Davos with Whitmer and sold us out to the World Economic Forum. The Michigan Strategic Fund is backing Ford's Marshall project with a number of incentives worth more than $1 billion. Real quick, I don't know if I called this out. Sorry. Tuesday, June 27th, 2023 at 10 o'clock is... 10 a.m. is the Michigan Strategic Fund board meeting. So go to that. You can go virtual or actual in person, but I definitely recommend we hold them accountable because they're holding the purse strings and everything goes through them. Ford is also investing $126 million in the Michigan Central Innovation District, a globally recognized hub for talent, mobility innovation, entrepreneurship, sustainability, small business opportunities, and community engagement. And its robust automotive ecosystem has attracted valuable industry partners, including New Lab, a multidisciplinary technology center. In February, the company announced plans to move its Detroit headquarters to the historic Book Depository building in the Michigan Innovation District, which the World Economic Forum has a building. I believe it's in this Innovation District. It's definitely an automation alley. So I'm sure that's all in that same innovation district. As a born and raised Michigander who has called Detroit home for years, I'm incredibly proud to help bring New Lab to the city I love and to catalyze the development of the Michigan Central Mobility Innovation Ecosystem, said Alyssa Malik, Managing Director, New Lab Detroit. Detroit and Michigan Central had all the factors we were looking for in our first expansion, a shared ethos, physical assets to enable real-world experimentation, a geography that is poised for significant growth, and a local hard tech product development talent base that is second to none globally. And a 20-minute neighborhood coming to you, Detroit, Ann Arbor. State legislators are aiding in Michigan automotive expansion as well. In March 2023, they approved a $210 million transfer of state funds to Ford for the Marshall plant, while also approving a $200 million grant to Our Next Energy, Inc. to open a $1.6 billion, 2,100 job EV battery plant in Wayne County's Van Buren Township, and $175 million to support Gotion Inc.'s nearly $2.4 billion, 2,350 job battery component plant near Big Rapids. That is the only blurb on Gotion, by the way, and Marshall doesn't get much either. A November 2022, and Genesee is not at all so far. Well, we'll see if that's even called out. A November 2022 report from the Argonne National Laboratory says that Michigan is one of 3 states set to dominate the automotive industry and will be able to manufacture between 97 and 136 gigawatt hours worth of EV batteries per year by 2030. Because they're definitely following Agenda 2030, are they not? Overflowing clean energy alternatives. Hey Rob, thank you for joining me, by the way. Sorry if it's been a minute. I appreciate you hanging out today. Hopefully this summary that these people, the MEDC, have put together will help us kind of get an idea of all of the stuff that we need to combat. Bolstering the success of Michigan's automotive industry are the clean energy infrastructure and developments assembled throughout the state. Supporting this transition are Michigan's energy suppliers, who are constructing plans to produce a locally sourced pipeline of clean power for the automotive industry and everyday consumers. Consumers Energy Economic Development Rate, approved by the Michigan Public Service Commission, is doing its part to propel Michigan's mobility sector forward. The rate is just one part of the overall program of EV support from Consumers Energy, which I'm going to be talking about after this. That includes a solid infrastructure of convenient charging stations stretching across Michigan, investing in a reliable and carbon-neutral energy grid, and helping residents and businesses save energy and money while powering their communities. Again, there's a dirty industry behind the green mask. If you actually look just one layer deep, then you'll see that all of the charging stations are powered by fossil fuels. It is literally a cover-up to make you feel better. But this EV battery technology is not good for the environment. It is not about the environment. According to Brian Barthelms. Oh yeah, I messed all that up. But anyway, executive and public communications led for the utility. We've set a goal to power 1 million EVs on Michigan roads by 2030. He said, backed by such programs as Power Michigan Drive and Power Michigan Fleet. The utility is also working directly with more than 50 companies and institutions on making the EV transition, most recently announcing a new connection with legendary Michigan company Domino's Pizza to provide rebates for chargers serving EV fleets at 7 Domino's locations. DTE Energy's Smart Change Program. Anytime you see smart, you better run, because it's surveillance. That's what the S stands for. I don't think it really does, according to them, but according to Rosa Corey, rest in peace, who was one of the first people to call out the UN Agenda 21 that's taking over, she goes in depth about smart meters and anything, smart houses, even our smartphone, but I'm not going to get into that. Smart is not good. It's surveillance. An initiative focused on optimizing EV charging has partnered with General Motors, BMW, Ford, and other automakers to reduce stress on the energy grid during periods of high demand. As Michigan's largest producer of and investor in renewable energy, this program enables DTE to acquire valuable data to ensure the stability and efficiency of the energy grid. Right. That's why they want the data, because they want to make sure there's stability in the energy grid. I don't know if you remember a couple years ago, we had tons of rolling blackouts here in Michigan, but DTE cares. In April 2023, DTE announced that Toyota Motor North America enrolled in the company's voluntary renewable energy program, Michigan Green Power. I mean, look at all these programs. Government is so incredibly large. The company's R&D headquarters in Ann Arbor and 6 other facilities across Washtenaw County are now on a path to use 100% renewable energy by 2026. Yeah, define 100% renewable. Look into that. Toyota joins a growing list of Michigan-based automotive manufacturers and suppliers who are enrolling in Michigan Green Power to meet their sustainability goals. Currently, more than 70% of Michigan Green Power business customers are involved in the automotive sector, said Brian Kolka, Vice President, Renewable Sales and Project Development for DTE. Furthering these efforts to supply, statewide renewable energy sources, in October 2022, Michigan Electric Transmission Company, a subsidiary of ITC Holdings Corp., announced plans to construct, own, and operate new transmission lines throughout the state. By the end of 2023, this project is expected to provide over $6 billion in economic benefits and create 4,100 jobs. The company's $850 million investment into the project is set to improve grid reliability, reduce congestion in the system, and work to lower Michigan's carbon footprint. Part of this project will consist of constructing 110 miles of new 345 kilowatt lines that stretch from northern Indiana to a new ITC substation located around 20 miles southwest of Lansing. There will also be additional 345 kV lines extending west to Lansing to Gratiot County. Sorry if that's your county. No disrespect. Lastly, 75 miles of existing transmission lines from Jackson County to Wayne County are expected to receive an upgrade. Investments like this are critical as we transition towards a clean energy and electric vehicle future. Yes, as we go to the metaverse. Enter the Matrix. Supercharged with talent. Even with its talent advantages, Michigan is committed to keeping the pipeline flowing. In March 2023, Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist announced the Michigander EV Scholars Program, part of a $34 million talent attraction and retention strategy the MED says is the nation's largest ever campaign of this kind. The government, again, being entirely too involved in business. The University of Michigan, home to the Michigan Electric Vehicle Center that is supported by $130 million from the state taxpayers, is a major partner along with Michigan State University and Michigan Technological University. I've showed it in a couple videos. Michigan State University and U of M, University of Michigan, are both captured by United Nations Sustainable Development Plan 2030. They are going along with the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, and it's in their curriculum. They are captured. The one-year pilot project is led by MEDC's Talent Action Team, a public-private partnership, I was wondering when I'd see that, of major Michigan employers, academic institution, and Michigan Works agencies across the state. Last week's Monday news roundup, at the very end of it, I went on for quite some time about public-private partnerships and how they're fascist. So if you haven't seen that, check it out. I'm hoping to edit out just that part and make a video on it, so that way you don't have to go through the first half of the Gotion News Roundup. But it is really important to understand that public-private partnership is literally the definition of fascism. It's the government and corporations creating corporatism. Scholarships of up to $10,000 will be rewarded to as many as 350 tech students at the 3 participating universities if they accept a position with one of the approved companies and agree to stay on the job for 12 months in Michigan. The new hires would help fill annual demands for 500 to 600 electrical engineers and software developers among the participating employers, which include Bosch, which World Economic Forum partner, Denso, Ford Motor Company, LG Energy Solution, Mali, Arnex Energy, Shapecore, and VZM City. The UM-led Public-Private Transportation Mobility Research Partnership is managing the EV Scholars Program for the university. In 2022, MEDC convened the Electric Vehicle and Mobility Talent Action Team to scale talent training for the EV and mobility sector, as well as foster collaborations among private industry partners, universities, and the state. So there you go. Captured private industry partners, captured universities, and of course the state has been captured. Only a few months later, a second group was created, the Semiconductor Talent Action Team, which focuses on providing attentive support for businesses looking to expand in Michigan. Michigan is committed to leading the future of the global semiconductor industry by investing in our workforce, said Governor Whitmer. The demand for domestic production of semiconductors will only grow, and Michigan is in a strong position to take full advantage of this generational opportunity. I will work with anyone to bring home supply chains, create jobs, and compete to win on a global scale. So, perfect example of centralized power in your face. Whitmer gets to pick who comes to this state and what businesses get to succeed and when they fail, what ones fail. Another thing I have to say, I know somebody that recently purchased a Tesla as a business vehicle because the government bribed them with a total of $12,000 worth of subsidies to buy an electric vehicle. Like, you literally have to be bribed to buy these vehicles. And it drives me crazy that we, the taxpayer, are paying for this type of stuff. It's not actual supply and demand. It is not authentic. It's not natural. It is manipulated by the government. It drives me nuts. I'm not saying that the company shouldn't have bought a Tesla, although I don't think that you should take out these bribes, but business, that's not my business. So it drives me nuts. I'm going to call it out. I don't like that we bribe companies to get Teslas, or anybody. We're bribing people to get Teslas. In December 2022, Governor Whitmer joined representatives from the Detroit Regional Chamber, Michigan Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity, and Michigan Office of Future Mobility and Electrification to award a $2 million grant to the Detroit Regional Chamber Foundation and Mich Auto to support projects to grow Michigan's high-tech workforce and build talent pipelines for Michigan's automotive, mobility, and technology sectors. As Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist said at the Michigander EV Scholars Program launch, we're ready to build on our proud legacy and automotive heritage here in Michigan while ushering in a greener, more sustainable, and electrified future. Now, again, it's definitely not greener. You saw that video I shared just a little while ago. It's really sad how we're destroying our planet in the name of green energy. So I promised that I'd talk about Consumers Energy and DTE. States AGs sound alarm about BlackRock Vanguard buying large stake in utilities. Berkshire Hathaway vice chairman says he doesn't want Larry Fink to be my emperor. That's exactly what's going on. BlackRock Vanguard, State Street. Okay, I'm going to read this, but really quick, look at this. This is CMS Energy. This is Consumers Energy. Vanguard, BlackRock. They own it. DTE, Vanguard, BlackRock. Like, this is where the concern lies, okay? We are having well, they're not corporations, they're asset fund management businesses, and they are buying up everything. Very dangerous. So, BlackRock, this is the New York Times. What BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street are doing to the economy. When I got on the phone with Vivek Ramaswamy, which real quick, this individual is a presidential candidate for the Republican Party. Also, his name has been on the Young Global Leaders World Economic Forum list. However, he claims that they were trying to recruit him and that he declined rather. And so he was talking about suing them for, putting a mark on his name, because people like me, if I see your name on the Young Global Leaders World Economic Forum list, you're sus. I don't trust you. So I don't know what to think of him, because what he says I really like. But he could be connected to the World Economic Forum. Now, the World Economic Forum could be playing, chess like a grandmaster, 8 moves ahead. I definitely think they are. So they could have put his name on there just to mess with him. Completely possible. I don't know. But we have to be aware that either one could be true, and so I'm going to move on. Ramaswamy on Tuesday, I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong, I'm pretty sure that's how you say it, afternoon, I was not expecting to find a common cause. He is a tech entrepreneur, a frequent contributor to conservative outlets such as the Wall Street Journal's editorial page, and the author of a book whose very title sounds as if it had been formulated in a lab at Fox News to maximally tickle the base and trigger the libs. Woke Inc. Inside Corporate America's Social Justice Scam. I had reached out to Ramaswamy to discuss his new venture, Strive Asset Management, an investment firm that he says will urge corporations to stay out of politics. Among Strive's funders, though, is one of the more politically active people in business, Peter Thiel, the billionaire venture capitalist who supported Donald Trump and is now funding a slate of Trump-loving congressional candidates. Peter Thiel is a very dangerous man. He is into transhumanism. He spends a lot of money on figuring out how to merge man and machine. He also spends a lot of money on blood science. So and I know this sounds crazy and weird, you can look it up, or I could do a video if you're interested, put it down in the comments below, but he buys young blood and gets it pumped into his veins to help him stay younger. He is trying to live forever. It's a weird concept for me because death is a part of life, but he doesn't want to die. And so he is investing a lot of money into different ways to live forever. And so very dangerous guy with a lot of money. And he was Elon Musk's partner for PayPal. So anyway, don't trust him. If you read the book To Be a Machine, he is in there quite often, giving lots of money to people that are experimenting on themselves, merging, again, man and machine. It turned out that I was right. I did not agree with a lot of what Ramaswamy had to say. Not only are our politics radically at odds, we also differ on what politics means in modern American capitalism. Yet despite our disagreement, something odd happened. I found myself nodding along with what is perhaps Ramaswamy's fundamental point, that 3 gigantic American asset management firms, BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, control too much of the global economy. The firms manage funds invested by large institutions like pension funds and university endowments, as well as those for companies and, in some cases, individual investors like me and perhaps you too. Their holdings are colossal. BlackRock manages nearly $10 trillion in investment. Vanguard has $8 trillion, and State Street has $4 trillion. I just can't even imagine what a million is like, let alone trillions. Their combined $22 trillion in managed assets is the equivalent of more than half of the combined value of all shares for companies in the S&P 500. Their power is expected to grow. An analysis published in the Boston University Law Review in 2019 estimated that the Big Three could control as much as 40% of the shareholder votes in the S&P 500 within 2 decades. This is who owns DTE, Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, Disney, Consumers Energy. I can go on and on. They're part of this $1 trillion worth of investment. Dangerous. Why is this a problem? Ramaswamy argues that the main issue is that the firms are using their heft to push companies in which they hold large investments into adopting liberal political positions. Things like focusing on climate change or improving the diversity of their workforce. I think that's a canard, as I'll explain below. I don't know what that is, but okay, let's see what he's got to say. The real danger posed by the three is economic, not political. Bull crap. It is absolutely both. This guy is wrong. The American economy is lumbering under monopoly and oligopoly. Again, that's thanks to government intervention. In the many industries, from airlines to internet, advertising to healthcare to banks to mobile phone providers, Americans can do business with just a handful of companies. Even your beer, right? There's people are protesting a certain beer, but Anheuser-Busch owns like 40 different beers. So you can't, like, if you really want to protest anything, yeah, just stop drinking beer. That's how you're gonna have to protest. As the journalist David Dayden has argued, this increasing market concentration reduces consumer choice, raises prices, and most likely harms workers. Of course, it does harm workers. BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street have been extraordinarily good for investors. Their passive investing index funds have lowered costs and improved returns for millions of people, but their rise has come at the cost of intense concentration in corporate ownership, potentially supercharging the oligopolistic effects of the already oligopolistic industries. BlackRock and Vanguard, in 2008, after the collapse and housing prices were really small or low, they were cheap. Houses were cheap. They came in, they bought up all those cheap houses, and that is why millennials have to rent. But this, again, it goes back to the service-based economy. They don't want us to own anything. You'll own nothing and be happy. So they're creating a problem by buying up all of the houses. And as a whole, people are going to rightly be upset that they own all of the properties and they're charging rent is going to be really high. So what is the government going to do, potentially? They could nationalize all housing in order to make it fair, because it's unfair that these companies went and bought up all the cheap properties, which, again, it is unfair that they did this, but that doesn't mean we should nationalize housing. It means that we shouldn't allow these companies to buy up our houses. John Coates, a professional at Harvard Law School, has written that the growth of indexation and the big three means that in the future, about a dozen people at investment firms will hold power over most American companies. What happens when so few people control so much? Researchers have argued that this level of concentration will reduce companies' incentives to compete with one another. This makes a kind of intuitive sense. This sounds very anti-competition to me, which is equity, what this guy is saying. For example, because Vanguard is the largest shareholder in both Ford and General Motors, why would it benefit from competition between the two? And if every company is owned by the same small number of people, why fight as fiercely on prices, innovations, and investments? Indeed, there is some evidence that their concentrated ownership is associated with lower wages and employment, and is already leading to price increases in some industries, including in airlines, pharmaceuticals, and consumer goods. The firms dispute this, and a 2019 paper, Vanguard's researchers, who would ever trust them, said that when they studied lots of industries across a long period, they did not find conclusive evidence that common ownership led to higher profits. Yeah, again, really, we're going to trust Vanguard's researchers? Give me a break. But if the big three keep growing, the effects of their concentrated ownership will only get worse. Einar Elhag, also of Harvard Law School, has written that concentrated ownership poses the greatest anti-competitive threat of our time, mainly because it is one anti-competitive problem we are doing nothing about. Ramaswamy says his new firm, Strive, will aim to limit the big three's power through competition. If Strive attracts enough investors to gain a say in how companies are run, a huge if, considering that Ramaswamy has said the Strive has raised only about $20 million compared to $22 trillion. Ramaswamy says that he will push for companies to focus on excellence rather than wading into heated political issues. Now, so far, this guy hasn't said anything about ESGs, because these companies are pushing ESGs, which is political. It's also about the environment to those people, but really it's politics if you get to the root of the root. And it destroys countries. Look at Sri Lanka. They had an ESG score of 98 out of 100, and then they collapsed. And I don't know what's happening there now. I hope they have food. They were self-sustaining with food, and now they have to import. And with the food shortages that are happening, you have to pray for the people of Sri Lanka. It's really sad. The ESG movement is so dangerous. It's the vision of the anointed, once again. The goal of staying out of politics in 2022 is about as realistic as staying dry in a hurricane. Last year, for example, BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street supported a successful effort to shake up the board of ExxonMobil by installing new members who promised to take climate change more seriously. Think about that. They have enough power to shake up a board of ExxonMobil to put them in line with their climate agenda. Was that because of excessive wokeness, as Ramaswamy says, or because ExxonMobil has been underperforming its peers for several years and it was woefully ill-prepared to transition to renewable energy that has been transforming energy markets? Again, why are these people forcing the market to go in a certain way? It is not natural and authentic supply and demand. The move seems well within what the investment firms say is in their main goal, looking out for the long-term interest of shareholders. And what if the firms hadn't backed the climate initiative? Wouldn't that have been construed as a political decision by the activists who have called on shareholders to push corporations to address climate? In any case, BlackRock announced this week that it would most likely vote for fewer climate-related shareholder proposals in 2022 than it did in 2021. Yeah, we'll see. In late 2018, a few months before his death, John C. Bogle, the visionary founder of Vanguard, who developed the first index fund for individual investors, published an extraordinary article in the Wall Street Journal, assessing the impact of his life's work. The index fund had revolutionized Wall Street, but what happens, he wondered, if it becomes too successful for its own good? Bogle pointed out the assessment management is a business of scale. The more money that BlackRock or Vanguard or State Street manages, the more it can lower its fees for investors. This makes it difficult for new companies to enter the business, meaning that the big three's hold on the market seems likely to persist. I do not believe that such concentration would serve the national interest. Well, let's see, the last paragraph right here. The most pressing issue is for us to recognize the problem. The growing influence of three large fund managers is not likely to diminish. Ramaswamy's take on the problem is wrong. No, it's not. Your take is wrong. You haven't mentioned ESGs this entire time. But he's right that it's a problem. How much power do these companies have to accumulate before we decide it's too much? That's a valid question. So yes, I showed you already that Consumers Energy, DTE. This shows even Turning Point. I was surprised. Turning Point, this is Vanguard's shares right here, what they own shares in. If you look, there's a lot of energy companies. There's a lot of food companies. Very dangerous what they're doing. And then, of course, media. And Disney is one of those with all their propaganda and such. It's Vanguard and BlackRock owning it. So this just came out. Twitter files reveal that Pentagon partnered with Vanguard in billion-dollar project to censor free speech in America. Are any of my fellow Democrats troubled? And I don't think that Robert Kennedy Jr. should be our president. I like what he has done in some fields, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he should be the president. But when it comes to him not being able to debate, it's ridiculous. It's $979 million contract to combat misinformation. DoD awarded a 5-year, $979 million contract to Peraton to counter misinformation, specifically originating from adversaries of the United States. Vanguard 360 OS, June 21 to 23, 2018. The 360 Open Source Summit will be supported by the Vanguard 25 exclusive group of decision makers ranging from C-suite to the situation room on the front line of forging digital resilience. This is them being directly involved in media. And so again, with Fox and CNN and MSNBC and all of them being owned by Vanguard, they are manipulating the information that we are getting from the legacy media. This is a group that will meet under Chatham House rules to create a discreet and honest way to close the information gap on challenges like disinformation between key decision makers from government, tech, and media, as well as forge digital resilience and strengthen the integrity of our democratic societies. Our aim is to move forward from talk to action, providing a trusted environment to produce concrete strategy and real-time measures to build resilience across our hyper-connected society. So, I'll have this linked down below. Check out what's going on. One more thing I forgot to mention. Once you learn BlackRock, Vanguard, and JP Morgan are the biggest share stockholders of Norfolk Southern, the train operator that crashed in Ohio, then you realize why there has been a major media blackout on the toxic chemical disaster. Can't risk losing that ad revenue. Absolutely correct, whoever this DC Drano. Isn't that kind of crazy? Norfolk Southern owned by these companies. Media blackout. Status Quo News is still talking about how those people are being poisoned. And yet we're going to bring Gotion and Marshall and all of these poison plants to the beautiful state of Michigan. The last thing I want to share with you is the information here. Now, I know that Republicans want war with China and Democrats want war with Russia. And both sides want war because it makes bigger government, and then you get lots of money from corporations and lots of favors and backdoor dealings, and war is a racket, 100%. Smedley Butler called it. He wrote a book about it. Very short, but really important to read. Rich people want it, okay? They make more money, and they don't send their children to die in bankers' wars. That doesn't change the fact that there are Chinese people coming in through the border. Now, what does that mean? You know, I don't know, but it's something we need to understand that's happening. I, again, do not want war with China. China is working for the World Economic Forum, just as Biden is. So whatever chess game that they're playing to try to move us pawns and manipulate us, we need to be aware. But again, 10,000 illegal Chinese nationals have crossed into the United States and have been released this fiscal year. This guy's thoughts, my immediate thought was Trojan horse. There may come a day where all hell breaks loose and we may or may not face a military invasion by China or other bad actors. Now, China uses propaganda and uses psychological warfare way more than it uses invasion tactics or anything else. But does that mean that they can't change it up? Of course not. So keep an eye out on this information. Understand what is happening, and, you know, make decisions in your everyday life that are applicable, of course. But this is one of the reasons why Gotion is very sus. And same thing with Marshall using Chinese batteries. We need to be careful when it comes to China. I'm not for war, but maybe China is. They obviously want to be number one. And America is doing everything they can to help them do that. So I think that is all I have for you today. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Please let me know if you learned anything new. I focused a little bit on Fox News today, but again, it's not about left versus right here or Democrat versus Republican. This is about just the truth. And the truth is, legacy media is owned by Vanguard and BlackRock, and we need to be careful when we listen to them and not just read the headlines and believe what they're saying, because they lie and they try to manipulate the masses into being complacent with their agenda. So Next video I'm hoping to make will be about the Muskegon River Watershed Assembly. I think that, again, there's some muck there that needs to be raked through, and there's some truth to be found and what's really going on. And I will have all the details on that for you very, very soon. So I'll see you guys in the next video, and remember, strength in numbers, love your neighbor. Thank you guys.